What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest and greatest episode of Dialogue Tree. My name is Ryan Smith, and I'm joined by my editor and co-host, Jordan Sims.
What's up? How's everyone doing today? Hope you all are doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little bit, I don't know. I just ate, but I feel kind of lightheaded.
Not enough calories, man. Who knows?
Not Big Mac. Double quarter pounder wasn't enough quarter. I literally almost said that double quarter pounder wasn't enough quarter pounder for me. But no, I don't know.
There's no shame in admitting that you need 2 double quarter pounders.
Oh yeah, definitely. I wouldn't just keel over and die. I'm not hungry or anything. I just feel kind of funky. I don't know. Maybe it was some bad meat or something. Maybe they didn't get our food right. We had to go back and ask to get it redone. Maybe they gave us bad meat.
Who knows? Maybe
they have like a secret section in the back of McDonald's. I know when I used to work at Panera Bread, we had just some rancid meat we kept in the back that we would just, even if you didn't order anything with meat on it, we just like, no, just have this slab of meat on us, but it'd be covered in mold and stuff.
They'd never know.
They'd never know, man. They never know. It looked like Invader Zim's forehead, but they would never know.
Man, that is intense. You never know. If I've learned anything living, don't fuck with people that make your food.
If I've learned anything, it's the people that wash your dishes don't do a very good job. Maybe that was just me, though.
I forgot, yeah. I'm sure you do an okay job of washing dishes.
No,
you did a bad job?
No, I did a horrible job. I would come into work, right? And literally completely blanked there.
Forgot the ins and outs.
I think that's literally my whole job. But I would come into work and I was so frustrated because I would get almost no time. I'd only work a couple days a week, so I wasn't getting paid very much. I wasn't getting paid per hour very much either. I hated the actual job. But yeah, so I wasn't really in the mood to wash dishes, I guess.
I definitely get that. It's one of those things where you're like, what?
It's been years, but I'm still, oh man, nah.
It's hard. It's hard. I was a dishwasher.
It's just gross.
Oh, dude, yeah, it was intense.
Washing dishes is disgusting. It's just wet, moldy. No, it's not moldy. It's not actually moldy, but
it's just nasty. And
then for some reason I had to wash the entire back room by myself. Like the rest of the kitchen got not an exaggeration, 12 people. And then they're like, okay, mop and clean up their entire back room by yourself.
Dang.
What?
Yeah,
why?
Sometimes the dishwashers get the short end of the stick.
But I think they always do a little bit. Today's episode is on the new Netflix new-ish. Came out a couple weeks ago. Video game documentary series High Score. This is, of course, a video game podcast. We cover topics in and around the medium. This is a new high-profile show on the perhaps highest-profile platform for shows. So, of course, we had to cover it. The show, like I said, came out a couple weeks ago. To be specific, it came out, I believe, on August the 19th. Had 6 episodes. Apparently, it was created by France Castrol. And, just get into it. The way I figured we would do this is I literally have the Wikipedia page pulled up here, so I'm going to read a synopsis of it, of each episode. We can talk about what we thought about it. And, I don't know, maybe, let me move my mic a little closer. Maybe if there could be a sequel, et cetera, or so on. Also, I wanted to, I guess, we could, actually, before we go into the episodes, we could, I guess, talk about the intro. What did you think about the intro? It has like a pixel art. I'm trying to see who made the intro as far as the...
You're talking about the actual
animation. I don't see... All I see is that the theme song was by an Australian band named Power Gloved. Oh, it's narrated by Charles Martineau, the person who voiced Mario. I think I heard that. I forgot though.
Yeah, it was a lot to take in. This covers. It's an awesome show for I guess people in the industry and also just people that are curious. It definitely taught me a lot of stuff. And I like the intro though. It's reminiscent, but also new and fresh. It kind of blends the bridge between old and new, and kind of shows you the history of video games and stuff like that.
It goes from, it takes inspiration. It doesn't just straight up take, but it's got like coins from the arcade. It has a level that's obviously supposed to look like Sonic. It has some just imagery of games throughout the decades, especially like the late 70s, probably through the 90s, which is where the show takes place.
Yeah, and I definitely like that. But go ahead and give them a synopsis of it.
What? Of the whole show?
No, sorry, just the.
Well, I mean, I was going to talk a little bit more about it, but I guess we can just jump into it. I was going to say some similar shows. The Toys That Made Us is kind of similar as a documentary about the toys that made us.
Yeah,
but it's about the. That's literally it. That's the show.
Yes, that's the show. It's the show.
So if you like that, you'd probably like this.
Yeah. I can't think of anything else that's kind of on the same lines of this as...
I mean, any documentary is in similar taste. This one just so happens to be about video games.
True. I guess this is more fun than a... And...
I mean, there's some documentaries, which, by the way, don't really... The term documentary doesn't really mean a whole lot. I think when a lot of people hear documentary, they think, oh, man, this is from an official source. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case, but it does. I guess it feels like it gives it more legitimacy.
Yeah, I definitely get that. This doesn't feel like a documentary you'd see in like a museum or anything like that.
I don't know.
I mean, it might. Maybe if the video.
Documentaries can be fun.
Well,
they don't all have to be about like sub-Saharan African murders or the Australian bushfires.
Yes, that is true. I guess I was just trying to say that this is one of the funner documentaries I've seen, although it's not.
I don't really watch a whole lot of documentaries.
I guess I do here and there every once in a while, but yeah, this is definitely a sweet thing for people to enjoy.
All right, so we can just roll on into the first episode. The first episode is titled "Boom and Bust." The synopsis reads: covers the early growth of arcade games and home video game consoles in the late 70s and early 90s. Until the 1983 video game crash. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, early 80s. Like, that doesn't add up. Featured interviews with Tomohiro Nishikato, the creator of Space Invaders, Rebecca Heineman, winner of the first Space Invaders U.S. National Championship, Doug McRae, Steve Golson, and Mike Horowitz of General Computer Corporation that made accelerator boards for arcade games. Toro, did I already read that? No. Iwatani, the creator of Pac-Man. Nolan Bushnell, founder of Atari. Karen and Anderson Lawson, the children of Jerry Lawson, who created the use of the game cartridge for the Fairchild Channel F. And Howard Scott Warsaw, the developer of E.T. the Extraterrestrial. It actually started with the guy. He kind of introduced himself. He said something like, "Hi, I'm Howard Warsaw, and I created the worst video game of all time."
Yeah, just straight up owned it, and we kind of got to see, the behind the scenes of him making this game, and he had not much time at all. It is insane.
By the way, I guess spoilers for this. Of course, it is a documentary, so it's history, but I guess if you don't want to know literally anything, probably wait until after you watch the show to listen to this episode about the show. But yeah, I really enjoyed. I mean, I enjoyed all of the show, but I thought this was a good introduction to the. I think this was a good place to start. This is when video games, of course, kind of started to become popular with things like Space Invaders, and of course, it goes all the way up to some of the worst video games. Or one of the worst video games ever made by, all accounts in E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
Yeah, I definitely liked seeing how the creators of both Pac-Man and Space Invaders literally just came up with the ideas and just kind of the behind the scenes of that. That was pretty interesting, and it was really cool.
It's interesting to see how they're inspired. Apparently, the things from the aliens in Space Invaders are heavily inspired by marine life, especially octopus.
Yeah,
octopi.
And Pac-Man was inspired
by pizza.
Yeah.
I think everyone knew that.
Yeah.
And of course, everyone knows he used to be called Puck-Man, I think. But then there was some word in America that sounded like that they decided they would rather avoid.
Yeah, I definitely understand that one. But it's really cool to see just how games have developed over the years, and it didn't even touch on like the 20th century at all. Really, in this
the 21st century.
Thank you. Yes, the 21st century in this at all. But it was definitely.
But hold on, just wouldn't think they made video games in the 1800s. They didn't focus on the 19th century at all.
But no, it was really cool to just see how it all, it started small and then it just slowly snowballed.
I didn't realize actually how, because they were talking about how it got to the billions of dollars in the 80s, I think. I was surprised. Of course, video games is the biggest entertainment medium on the planet right now. It's more valuable than, like, all in all, if you add everything together, mobile, PC, merchandise,
yeah.
etc. It's bigger than, I think, several of the next, like, music, TV, all that combined, which is kind of insane. But I didn't realize that it was it'd been making that much money and of course billions of dollars is nothing compared to what it makes today.
Oh yeah,
but still,
yeah, it was really cool to see that they were making that amount of money in that time frame, and it's you get to see the background. I guess notes and inside the brains of these creators.
I like seeing some of the sketches.
Yeah, that was really sweet. I liked seeing that and how they kind of just came to be, and almost the battles between each other. Like, okay, well,
yeah, they definitely had that, especially in some of the later episodes. They talked about the console wars.
Oh yeah, it was really cool because I knew some of this here and there, but it really filled in the gaps and added a lot of juicy information to things I already really love and enjoy. Because I love Space Invader, I love Pac-Man. I really enjoy those games, and just to see how they
I haven't played a lot of Space Invader. I played a decent amount of Pac-Man, and I've got Pac-Man. I've got some version on my phone, but I haven't played a lot of Space Invaders except for maybe a few times in a bowling alley.
Yeah, there's a couple things that I wouldn't mind having later in life, and I wouldn't mind having a Space Invaders cabinet. That'd be pretty sweet. It's super enjoyable, and I definitely get how Heinemann was talking about. You kind of get into a rhythm. That's the winner of the first Space Invaders tournament.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that.
Didn't know that was a thing. Had no earthly clue.
I mean, I would have, if you would have asked me, I probably would have said yeah, but yeah. I didn't know about it. I like how they kind of touch on the, I guess, almost first esports events. They talk about the Space Invader one. They talk about, of course, everyone knows about the Nintendo World Championships. And then they talk about, like, the introduction from the, especially Street Fighter side of the fighting game tournaments.
Oh, yeah, it's really sweet to see how far just games have come and competitions and everything. And whoever edited all this did a phenomenal job. I really like how they pieced everything together. They kind of went back and forth from story to story. And
yeah, that was nice. I like how they have some of the, especially in some of the later episodes, they have the some of the characters from the video game like superimposed into the real world.
Yeah, and it was really cool because you could kind of tell, with this being Netflix and us being in a binge culture, you kind of just roll through binging stuff, but you could kind of tell when the episode would get to, like, towards the end, some music would kind of fade in and it would kind of just start kind of winding down, but also hyping you up for the next episode. And it was really cool how they kind of melded that all together and just let you kind of roll through this documentary. Like, it gave you a pausing point to be like, okay, cool, we're done with that episode.
Yeah, we watched this in a couple afternoons, probably 2-3 days.
Yeah, about that. And it was a good point where some shows are like, all right, we're going to end at this really weird spot. And you're like, well, okay, that's a weird spot to end. But this really kind of wrapped up everything with a bow and was just kind of like, okay, here you go. You can either stop or you could tell.
I think it was pretty obvious they wanted you to watch all of it in one sitting.
Yeah.
Or maybe not one sitting, but in a short amount of time.
Oh, yeah, just so you could retain all the information. Because it calls back to different things and tells you different information here and there about that.
But of course, all that stuff with E.T. and Atari with them, I like how they talked about how they were putting out, it's because it wasn't just E.T. There were a bunch of low quality games that and no one liked, and people kind of stopped taking video games seriously. And that kind of leads up to the next episode, episode 2, titled Comeback Kid, which covers the introduction of Nintendo, and which kind of saved the video game market. Of course, most people who are listening to this probably know that, around 1983 with people, of course, Donkey Kong was a game, and in Japan it was popular, but, everyone was thinking, in America, people didn't really think video games were sustainable.
Yeah,
so
they kind of
took a big risk.
Yeah, releasing it to America and everything.
I thought it was really interesting that the cabinet that they shipped was actually a Space Invaders I guess would be the correct. It was very similar to Space Invaders.
Yeah.
When Nintendo shipped the cabinets to America in the early 80s.
Yeah, and they just sat there until, they...
Because no one really wanted to play Space Invaders anymore.
Yeah,
I guess
they were...
Or if they were going to play Space Invaders...
They just play Space Invaders.
play Space Invaders.
Yeah, they tested it out on a couple people, and they were saying, we don't want to play this. This isn't... And Nintendo's like, all right, keep them loaded up. And they actually used the same cabinets. They just, put new skins on them and slapped the new board inside, and it was Donkey Kong, which was kind of insane. And people loved it.
Well, yeah, of course they did. Everyone... And that's... I guess they kind of say... And the rest is history.
Yeah, exactly. And that led them into doing their first Nintendo World Championship.
Yeah, the guy talked about, that was interesting. He talks about, and we don't want to spoil everything because there's a lot of little details that we're not going to talk about because I think you should watch the show. But it talks about this kid who, I can't remember where he was from. He was from like Utah or something, and his parents took him to like California. And he didn't do that well. He ended up he didn't win. But there was like one more competition that he could go to qualify. And he went through all this stuff. And his parents, it was really interesting to see how supportive his parents were because they drove him thousands of miles. And of course, he ends up winning the whole thing. It's really interesting to see because he wasn't really the biggest fan of Tetris. He liked Mario or something. I can't remember.
Yeah,
but he ended up getting obsessed with Tetris.
Yeah, now he's just really good at Tetris. He was talking about how, I don't want to give away too much, but he was saying how he would dream and daydream of Tetris sequences and putting the pieces together and just kind of to see, as he was training and getting better at Tetris, it would literally just kind of not overwhelm, but just kind of flood his mind and just he could see the sequences and stuff and just how much time he dedicated to Tetris. But it was the most interesting thing I think about this episode. I think it was in this episode. Was when they talked about Nintendo Power. Was that this episode?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and the video game counselors, which I didn't ever. Obviously I wouldn't.
Oh yeah, I actually I forgot about those.
Yeah, that stuck with me because nowadays you'll be like, okay, let me YouTube how to find the path or whatever. Or even in early in my video game playing times, you'd get the the magazines or the game guides or whatever. But back in the day,
of course, I mean you could even at least try to use the
game guide,
the game manual.
Yeah, the game. Yeah, that too. But back before that, they had what do they call them? Nintendo counselors.
I think they called them like game counselors or something.
Yeah, and they would call on the phone. Their job was to play the games and know where all the hearts were, where all the power ups were, and all this. And you'd call them and be on the phone with them and be like, they'd be like, "Okay, little Timmy, what part of the game you're stuck on?" And they'd tell them. And sometimes they were really descriptive, and sometimes they'd be like, "Gray walls." It's like all
the walls are gray.
All the walls are gray or whatever. And that was really cool to see the kind of the behind the scenes of that's how Nintendo did it. And that's how Nintendo, aside from making awesome games and doing really well with sales, that's kind of how they really planted their feet concretely in America.
They talked about how they wanted to basically get them through the games. That way they could buy the next one.
Yeah. And I was like, well, that makes sense that, that's why I have all right, beat the game, go to the next one mindset now of, that. I
don't think Nintendo like created that mindset or anything. I just think that they capitalized on it.
That's definitely true. And it's funny now that it's kind of funny to see the difference between back then and now, because you had the cool guys like, you'll see in later episodes and stuff, they'll be like, I'm a Sega ambassador and different stuff. Or like, I'm a Nintendo game rep or whatever. And
I think
now,
that's this episode.
is that the same episode?
This is the one where they talk about the game counselors.
Yeah, and so that one, and you kind of...
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
the Sega thing. Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy to see that, that they're considered, like celebrities. I'm putting celebrities in air quotes,
I
but
don't think they were considered celebrities by anybody.
it was considered like cool,
Okay, yeah, it was considered cool, I'm sure,
and that's the same thing as like,
by all the 12-year-olds calling you up.
yeah. And I was going to kind of compare that to, nowadays people think like, oh, like you're ninja or you're so-and-so.
Oh,
It's
right.
like considered cool to play video games, now. And it was cool to, work at Nintendo back then. But all in all, it definitely is really cool to see. What's her name? I think she's in here. The Gail Tendon, I think that's her. Yeah, she's the Nintendo marketing director, and they called her the Dragon Lady. And it was kind of cool to see the background of how Nintendo Power came to be.
Yeah, Nintendo Power, it has it's very closely related, I'd say, to the game counselors, because they even had a section for the game counselors in the magazine. It was really interesting how they incorporated that, and then they, of course, the first image of Mario in 3D was on the cover of Nintendo Power. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that looks sweet. I don't think maybe I'd seen it once before or something, but to see it again really reminded me of, how awesome it is to see Mario like that.
I like how she was very insistent as to what she wanted, because she was in Japan talking to people that knew the Japanese market, but they didn't know the Western market like she did, because of course she'd grown up in the Western market and she had worked in the Western market, and she got away on a lot of things. Apparently some people quit, but I think clearly, they had a popular magazine, so what she was doing was right.
Yeah, and it was really cool to see her telling the story of, this is how we did it, this is why we did it. People, people did not have nice things to say about me because I wanted it how I wanted it, and that's how I was going to do it.
Did you have Nintendo Power as a kid?
I think maybe I got an issue or two at the grocery store or something, but I don't think I subscribed to it. No.
I think one of my brothers was subscribed to it, so we got it for at least a few years.
Okay, nice.
It's a podcast now, apparently.
Really?
Yep.
That's cool. I do love, I love those issues.
I mean, that was before, I'm sure that must have been before even Game Informer, which I think was in the early 90s.
Most definitely. It was really sweet, though. It was one of those things that I wouldn't mind having a collection of like cool, really cool looking covers of those.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Just to display or something like that, because those definitely seem. It's funny. She made a joke of, any of you people that are selling these on eBay, don't try to sell this one because everybody has it. Because we rented so many of it and stuff. And like I was talking about earlier, in a lot of the scenes. You definitely just need to watch this because it's awesome. If you like video games, if you don't like video games, but a lot of the scenes with her, they implemented, like Mario blocks or Mario.
That's what I was talking about with how they put the characters in real life.
Yeah, that's definitely really sweet. I guess just the only last thing about this episode.
Well, I mean, I was going to talk about how I think it's really interesting that Universal, they held the Nintendo World Championship in Universal Studios, like the theme park.
Yeah.
But Universal actually sues Nintendo for copyright infringement over Donkey Kong because they own the rights to King Kong.
Yeah, I was actually going to talk about that and how it is interesting to see that Universal is going after Nintendo over just, Kong and I did not know this next bit at all. I did not know that.
With Kirby?
Yeah.
I knew they had named Kirby after somebody. I didn't know who. But the lawyer who represents Nintendo in that case actually ended up, they named Kirby after, his name was Kirby.
Yeah, his name was John Kirby. Rest in peace. He died.
Yeah, he died last year.
Yeah, 2019. And they dedicated that episode to Kirby. And that was really cool how they interview him and he's telling all the back and forth, and he basically was like, Universal doesn't have a leg to stand on. There's nothing, like, they're just doing it. They're just suing to sue because they know Nintendo is at the time a small company, and maybe they couldn't really battle it, but they took them to court and they battled it and they won.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting part of the episode. It kind of rolls into the next episode titled "Role Players."
This was definitely one of my favorite episodes.
Really,
this one, and yeah, I just like how they told the story, because each episode, like, yes, it's a documentary, and yes, there's a formula of how they tell the story, but each episode isn't, we're going to start with the, dang it, I hit my computer again. Oh, well. We're not going to start with this and end with this. They kind of just open up the episodes completely different. So it's a new experience each time. This one is going to be obviously covering, being called Role Players, it's covering action games, role-playing games, and
action games. They don't talk about action games.
Sorry,
they just talk about role-playing games.
Yeah,
that's pretty much the inception of role-playing games. From they talk about both console and PC. I thought it was really interesting seeing how basic these games used to be and how advanced they are now with games like Final Fantasy VII Remake, Dragon Quest XI, etc.
Oh yeah, it's definitely crazy to see how they how far they've come.
Especially like that game Mystery House.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was definitely,
which is one of the, I guess, first story games that has had graphics at all.
Yeah, they used lines to do it, which was kind of really cool to see. And they go through and talk about a lot of interesting stuff in this episode. The whole thing, really, the whole series. But it was really cool to see where role-playing games, were and where they are now.
They also talk about D&D. That's Dungeons and Dragons.
I feel like this table's extra close to me, but I'm okay with it.
I'll pull it close. I don't give a heck.
Don't give a heck about nothing.
They talk about Dungeons and Dragons and how that had a heavy influence on RPGs. They also talk to the, I guess, one of the lead artists for the Final Fantasy series. That was really cool. And they have a running, one of the running things in this episode is they talk about an RPG called Gayblade. They kind of follow the saga of this guy making his own game in the late 90s and then losing it. It's really interesting.
You want to know something?
Of course, he tries to get it back.
About Gayblade. So super spoilers. No, they found it and it's on archive.com now.
Kid,
what?
Spoilers.
This whole episode's a spoiler.
No, not that. That's the most important thing of the. Damn it!
Oh,
now
wow.
They're not going to come back. We hold the secrets to the kingdom. Netflix's shows. I still feel a little loopy.
I can tell. We did an episode about Bird Box back in the day.
Oh gosh, why did we do that? Yeah. Moving on. Moving on to This Is War. Of course, this episode just covers, or doesn't just cover. One of the big things it covers is Sega's entry into the market with Sonic.
So, special fact about me.
Special fact time.
Hot take. Didn't know there was a man.
Didn't know Sonic was a game. I thought it was a fast food chain of restaurants.
Definitely not true. I'm sure there's somebody out there that only knows Sonic as the G Fuel flavor. But anyway, what I was going to say is I didn't know John Madden was a real person.
How did you not know John? Okay, we're going to skip to that. They also talk about, actually, I guess that's kind of because Madden was, that's my new thing. Madden was big on the Sega consoles. So you're just the biggest nerd on the planet, aren't you? No. How do you not know John Madden was a real person?
I don't know. I thought they just came up with the word Madden.
Hold on, let me think. Okay, we're going to make a skateboarding game. Robbie Falcon's good at skateboarding underground.
Yep, that'll do it.
No, that Professional Golfing Association video game?
Yeah.
Tiger Woods. It's a real person, too.
I know about Tiger. I know what he did.
Tiger. I know about Tiger.
I know what he did.
I know he constantly cheated on his wife for like a decade.
Most men cheat on their wives.
What? Oh man, this is some dark. This is some dark shit. we're getting into. Let's just glide right past that. Let's just keep on moving, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not dwell on the past.
Let's not start a fight.
Start a fight.
That's the next title of the episode is fight.
We're not done with this one. We just said this is where we cover Sega. I don't know who John Madden is.
You're not wrong. After this episode, obviously
he was a coach of the Oakland. They literally talked about it in the episode. He was a coach of the Oakland Raiders. I think he won at least one Super Bowl, and then he went on to become a really big name in the game, especially through color commentary.
I will say what they did back in the day for Madden.
You really don't know anything about sports.
No.
Like things that people who can't name all 50 states know.
Oh man.
People who get they're like, you Paul? Yeah, I know who John Madden is, but I'm an idiot.
Yep. So
you did not think that was funny at all. Yep, I get it. I bet you don't know all the animes.
Oh man. Okay. Well,
you okay?
I'm good. I'm good. Just laughing from crying, or laughing because I'm crying. Is that the same thing I just said? Anyway,
bet you hadn't seen all episodes of Bible Black. Don't look that up.
Now they're going to look it up, and
Black Bible. I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
I have a friend who's way too into that.
Yes, he is. So
according to him, though, it's got a pretty good plot. So,
yeah,
it's just supposed to be about
a beautiful documentary
Netflix show.
So, Nato Oshishima, he's in this. He's the character artist for Sonic. I really did enjoy the art behind the scenes portion of this.
Yeah, it was interesting to see how it all started. Once again, which is of course the theme of this whole show.
Yeah, I liked how he took them. He drew 3 characters and then took them to some park or whatever. I was like, yo.
Hey kids, you want some candy?
Which I didn't, when they were building up to that, I really thought they were just going to take a hedgehog to the park and be like, yo,
you like this?
Y'all like this hedgehog? You want to play a game with this in it? But they took
You want to play a game with the hedgehog?
Holy shit, the next Saw movie, the villain's going to be a hedgehog. It's going to be the original Sonic. I'd watch that. But yeah, they, pretty much did a survey of, who do you like better? This man, Eggman, this hedgehog,
you
Sonic.
Like this man, or you like my hedgehog boy?
The hedgehog, sir.
Come meet me behind this tree.
Oh.
I got some drawings I want to show you.
I bet that's exactly how it went down.
Can you imagine that today? Strange Japanese man called your kid over to the park. Got to show you something secret. Don't show your parents.
Yeah, that'd be real weird, especially since a lot of these people.
No, not because he's Japanese, Jordan.
Not where I was going with that, but I mean, I'm sure it depends. But basically, how a lot of these in earlier episodes, they were talking about how they were making deals and people in general were making deals and doing stuff, and they weren't doing NDAs or anything like that. And so it was just kind of wheeling and dealing, winding and grinding.
I don't know how well an NDA with a 15-year-old who just smoked his first cigarette is going to go down.
Is that where the kids smoke cigarettes at the park?
Yeah, in the park behind the tree. You don't know?
No.
You never got invited?
No. Have you met me? Of course.
By the 35-year-old Japanese man?
No, never got it.
He shows you pictures and...
Whoa.
You've got your weird divorce thing and I've got my Asian businessman thing. It's both normal.
Fair enough. But yeah, after this, I thoroughly knew who John Madden was.
Madden
was. He's living, right?
Yes.
You had to think about it.
I'm fairly certain he's old as hell.
His lifestyle.
As long as Brett Favre is alive, John Madden will be alive.
Are their lives?
That's if you're a big football nerd, you'll think that's funny.
Okay.
Please think that's funny. I also thought it was interesting to see how Sega's strategy was to take down Nintendo. Of course, I already knew about Nintendo, but it was interesting to see more about the guy who kind of came up with the strategies from everything from, I don't want to spoil all of them, I guess, but from making Nintendo look lame to sports games like Madden. It was really interesting. I think this is the guy. He had some other strategies, and then later Sega didn't listen to him, which was one of the reasons that Sega didn't do quite as well as Nintendo.
Yeah, we'll let y'all see.
Spoilers.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody that's just like, oh man, what? Sega around?
How come Sega? Where's my Genesis 360?
You ever have a Genesis?
No.
Me neither.
I wasn't a nerd.
You're right.
I had a N64 like all the cool kids.
Hell yeah. I want to get one of those.
N64? We've got one right there.
I want my own.
In the living room.
I want my own.
What do you mean? Oh, well, they're not expensive.
I know. They look cool. I like them.
I got the see-through black one like all the cool kids did.
Nice. It does look pretty spicy.
It's epic. It's epic.
Oh, it's epic.
It's epic. It was an epic gamer moment.
That is true.
My mom bought it for me.
That's a good parent right there.
That was the V-Bucks back in the day.
Ain't that the truth?
No, Mom. I don't want this. I don't want this plain Nintendo 64. No. I don't want 500 V-Bucks, Mom. Bitch. I want the see-through granite V-Bucks.
Yeah, and
with that controller that does the Fortnite dances.
You hand her the little slip of paper and she takes it up to the counter, and that's how you get your electronics back in the day.
Trying to think what are you talking about?
Toys R Us, they wouldn't actually have boxes.
Oh, that crap! Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's because people, nowadays.
What the hell were we talking about?
Sega and John
right,
and all that and everything. Yeah,
it was interesting. Of course, people still talk about the console wars, but it definitely is not as intense as it was back in the day.
No, not at all.
I was very, very young I don't even know if I was alive, but yeah. For a lot of this. What was the last thing I was talking about?
You were talking about how you don't know if you were alive in 1994
right.
or not.
So just complete hard cut. I thought it was really interesting how Madden actually had some input on the games. He talked about how they did not interview John Madden, by the way. That's one of the things that I thought was, I'm not really that surprised, but I would have actually liked to see them get some of the big names. Like they would be like talking about Miyamoto, and okay, are they going to get Miyamoto? No, they don't get Miyamoto. They don't get John Madden. They don't get not that Jordan would be like, yo, who's this guy? Who's this old white dude? I don't know. It must be Miyamoto.
That's right. The secret
is
out.
He's about to show you his football drawings.
That's right. It's just soccer.
But yeah, that's like one of the only complaints I had with it, which really isn't a complaint. It's just I would have liked to seen more. But he talked, the guy who was talking about working with Madden was saying, no, he only wanted to have 7v7. But Madden was like, no, we have to do it 11v11, otherwise it's not real football. I thought it was very interesting, and the game actually looks like it probably holds up decently considering how old it is.
Yeah, it was funny. The guy
considering that Tecmo Bowl, I think, was probably one of the only other things before this.
Yeah, it was really cool because the guy goes, "Yeah, we can do it," and then he's like, "I told him we could do it," and then we had to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, I thought that was super. It was almost like the ET thing, except they actually came through.
Yeah,
I think they had years. I think he said it turned like a year project into a multiple year project.
Yeah, and with ET, I think he had 5 weeks. Yeah, and he was like, "Yeah, we can do it." And Spielberg gave him the green light, and the rest is history. That trash can of a game. I would play it though if I had
a game.
ET. trash can
I'd
game.
play it.
I'd play it if I could today. I'd play it.
You could easily play it. I'm sure. Get an emulator, baby.
Oh, you're right.
No, you're not gonna give anybody money for ET.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
What's that remake, Atari? Where's Atari?
That's a good point.
They're busy opening up hotels and failing, probably.
Especially with COVID
and
now.
Making appearances in Blade Runner movies.
Yes, that is true. I'd try this generation Atari console if they came out.
They're coming out with a. I don't know if it's a 2600. They're coming out with a
something
like a classic console. I think it's like $400 or $500 though.
Yeah, fuck that.
I could buy a PS5 or I could buy an Atari 2600.
Yeah, I retract that comment. Never mind. Not interested anymore.
Just steal them.
Just
steal the games now before they can actually legally buy them, so your conscience is clear.
My what?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Let's just move on to the next episode, titled Fight. As you may guess, this covers fighting games, or as they call them several times in the episode, fight games. Really off-putting. I don't know. I don't even play fighting games, and I really didn't like them calling Street Fighter a fight game.
Fight game. Yeah, they go through and obviously they start talking about esports, and
they do talk about esports some.
I liked this episode. It definitely.
This is the only episode you liked?
Yep, only one. I didn't like any of the others. I looked at the catalog and I knew this was in there, so I figured I could trudge through the rest of them just to watch episode 5.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like fast forwarding, it doesn't matter anyway. So yeah, this is pretty sweet. I liked having a little insight. I liked. Actually, I don't want to talk about that because I want people to enjoy it.
It's always
themselves.
It's always interesting seeing how different Street Fighter, the original, is from 2 and all the subsequent 10,000 sequels.
Oh yeah, that's insane.
Spinoffs, etc.
I honestly did not know there was that much of a difference between one and 2.
I've seen it, but I always forget. It's night and day. I didn't know that there were only Ryu and Ken. Apparently, were the only 2 playable characters in Street Fighter 1.
Yeah, the evolution from Street Fighter 1 to Street Fighter 2, insane. Like, wow, it was really, really a monumental task they did. And obviously, they showed us the behind the scenes of all that and kind of how they came up with the ideas and such. And it
talk about how they exaggerated a lot of the features of the people from different countries.
They were. I really liked how they were talking about how, and you can definitely see that in fighting games now, where they wanted everybody to have someone to play. So it was,
right, yeah.
And I like how what is it the background of Johnny Cage. I didn't know that about him.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that he was inspired by Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, I didn't know that when I was like, well, that makes sense because I play Johnny Cage here and there.
Well, you've seen Bloodsport, right?
Mm-mm.
No. I assumed since you have that Van Damme shirt, you'd seen his movies.
No, that's actually from Sense8, the Netflix
show.
I can't.
I cannot describe.
So hang on.
Disappointment.
Hang on. The character in that show likes Van Damme.
It doesn't.
I know you don't care anymore.
It doesn't. I can't describe the amount of disappointment that is flowing. I don't even care that much for Jean-Claude Van Damme. But I just
okay.
I can't. They also talk about. They also talk about the ESRB. Of course, everyone knows about the congressional hearings, but they do go more in detail than a lot of people probably know about. So that's still keeps it interesting and fresh. One thing that they kind of hint on about, but they don't really go that far in depth is in Night Trap, which is one of the games that they show in the congressional hearings as evidence that video games are violent or whatever. They talk about how you're like a bad person doing this stuff, but in the game, and they hint at that's not really what's going on in the game. But what they don't talk about is you're actually trying to stop the bad guys, and they kind of show it in the opposite light in the congressional hearing, which of course isn't good and shows a lack of actual investigation.
Yeah, and maybe that's the way they wanted to play it off. as. Who knows?
Maybe. I mean, I do think that the ESRB is a good thing.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I honestly, so Ryan was like, "You can get Night Trap on Switch," and I was like, "No, you're trolling me. That's not true."
And then, like 30 seconds later in the episode, they say that you can.
And I was like, "Well, okay, you're correct. I see that, and it does. It's kind of cool."
Another interesting anecdote that they don't talk about. So Night Trap, I believe, was a Genesis exclusive or was a Sega exclusive. I think, and Nintendo was kind of leaning into all this stuff, being like, "Yeah, in Mortal Kombat we took out the blood, and you can't get Night Trap on Nintendo because we're family friendly." I think someone that worked at Nintendo said like, "I'll eat my hat" or something along those lines if Night Trap ever comes to a Nintendo console. And then, of course, 25 years later or whatever, it comes to Switch.
Yeah, exactly. But all in all, it was really cool to kind of see the birth of the ESRB, and now it's just part of everyday.
See, they don't really show; they just kind of talk about it. I would like to see more about that.
I'd watch that.
About how more in depth. I guess maybe it's not interesting at all, but I would like to see a little more in depth about that. I mean, I could probably watch a whole season about the congressional hearings if they made it interesting enough.
Yeah, exactly. Because, that was the bread and butter of, "Hey, Mom, I want this game." I look down at the bottom left corner. Sorry, you're not T. You're E.
You're not T. Sorry,
you can't play this. And heaven forbid trying to ask Mama for a M game. No, sir. No, sirree. You're not playing one of those. I probably didn't play
the first M-rated game I played some Mortal Kombat here and there, probably in the late 90s. Or maybe I just watched some people play. I watched a lot of Turok on the N64. I didn't play a whole lot, but I watched it. The first one that I actually put a lot of time into was probably like Halo or something.
Nice. I do like a good Halo. It is
man,
good.
I love Halo.
And nowadays, it definitely seems that
every good game is rated M.
Yes.
It's not entirely true, but that's what this. I mean,
there's so many games.
You can't really. If you're, I don't even want to say this. If you consider yourself a gamer, of course you have to play rated M games.
I mean,
and those games would be considered tame. Night Trap and Mortal Kombat and Doom. Have you seen Doom 2016? Have you seen the executions in Mortal Kombat 11?
Yeah, it's insane.
Like, they would die. They would have a stroke in the middle of the courtroom.
If they saw what video games are now, it's insane. Or, some of the finishers in like Friday the 13th or just different stuff.
Finishers in Friday?
Not finishers is the wrong word, but I guess like killing blows.
Friday the 13th.
The
like Dead by Daylight style game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like just some of the killings.
I don't think, no.
Is that, you not kill?
You like fall down like a board when you die in that game, or you punch them. There's not.
Am I putting things in that game that aren't there?
I think you're putting things in the game. Okay. Are you talking about the game where you team up and fight Jason?
Yeah, I guess
There's not really much gore in that game at all.
Good thing I haven't.
Have you just assumed? Or?
Yeah, maybe I just added gore to it when I was watching people play it.
I don't think there's really a whole lot of. Maybe I haven't seen people play that game in like 3 years, but I don't think there's a whole lot because it's not a graphical powerhouse, so it can be that bad.
Okay, I guess that's true, but yeah, they definitely would die if they saw some of the finishers and fatalities.
Yeah, they would definitely lose their minds.
That's insane.
And then moving on into the last episode, and then we can talk about, I guess, other things that they could do in the future. It's titled Level Up, and this covers the transition from 2D to 3D in both computers and consoles. Of course, we still have 2D, but this is a major shift. It also talks about id with Doom. They interviewed John Romero, who was one of the creators of Doom. That was cool. They sold a lot of copies of Doom. That other dude whose name I can't think of right now, who also helped make Doom. I think he had an interview with Joe Rogan. That was cool because they talked about him figuring out how basically to do multiplayer over online and stuff. That was cool. And Star Fox was a Nintendo game. That was cool. They talked about what might be the first video game, Space War. That was cool.
And that has been
Wait, hold on.
okay.
I thought it was really cool though. Seriously.
And that was the
cool it was interesting
section.
seeing how they adapted like a mods and stuff from a Game Boy, and then eventually it's really interesting. I don't want to spoil how they end up making Star Fox. We didn't talk about how in one of the other episodes, this is not in this episode at all, the guys who modded Pac-Man to become Miss Pac-Man, and they were making all that money with mods and stuff in college. That was really cool.
Yeah,
I thought that was awesome.
I think that's in the first episode.
It's in one of the first couple.
Yeah, it was really really cool.
I do think the Star Wars thing was interesting. They talked about how Miyamoto had a really big hand in it, and how he wanted the characters designed this way, and how he was really in charge of how to trying to make the 3D first person perspective work on a console and in this certain way, how he was inspired by certain things. I thought that was really interesting. And they talked about how he would come in the break room and smoke. And that was, that's just funny.
Yeah.
It's just funny thinking of like a young Miyamoto smoking, talking about anthropomorphic animals.
Yeah, most definitely.
And then you realize that Disney and Nintendo created furries, and you really just...
You get sad.
And
what would you want to see in a sequel?
The Star Fox?
Yeah.
I think they already came out with that.
For the Switch. What would you want to see in a Star Fox?
You can play Star Fox 2 on the Switch.
Okay.
Can you?
I don't think so. You got...
No, I think that would be really interesting. So they go up to like the mid-90s or so. So, I mean, I would like to see them just kind of continue. I would love for them to see the introduction of PlayStation, with Sony, how Nintendo kind of created that rivalry, how they kind of created one of their biggest competitors. That would be really interesting. Of course, a few years later with the introduction of Xbox, I would like to see them talk about esports more, how the games like GoldenEye, Halo, CSGO really push that forward in a big way. Things like YouTube, Twitch, and then just continue, for the next, I think that they could do a couple of seasons and, for the next season. Maybe don't go as far as, maybe go up until like the very beginnings of YouTube.
Yeah, the bubble of when people could watch Let's Plays and, like that bubble. Yeah, that'd be a good chunk of history to cover. I'd like that. If y'all like this, check out the God of War documentary on YouTube. It's I think it's on.
Oh yeah, and also just if you like video game documentaries, I also really recommend No Clip. They do really really good work.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with that. I'd like to see. I wouldn't mind some more like deeper behind the scenes stuff. Just stuff that we wouldn't normally see. People that are deep in the credits or whatever. Like maybe some of the sound design team or how they.
I want to see Miyamoto.
That too. That'd be cool. Be like, hey man, I know you don't ever do interviews.
I would also really like to see
Reggie Fils-Aimé
introduction of. I mean, everyone wants to see Reggie.
Yeah,
but I would love to see in a season, maybe after another season or two, FromSoft. I would like to see the introduction of Demon Souls, and I would like to see them interview Miyazaki. I think that would be awesome.
That'd be cool. I'm not a huge fan of those games, but I can appreciate his work. There's
Kojima. Obviously, everyone would love to see Kojima. Those are just. But I think it would be cool if they could get some bigger names. But yeah, of course, I would also like to see them continue to get the lesser known people as well.
Yeah, definitely. Both sides of the coin. Anything in this industry is interesting because there's so many people that do stuff and they don't. They put out something and then you play it and you don't ever see another game from them. Or
I would like to. The indie scene as well. I'd like to see them cover a lot of like the explosion of the of the indie scene as well.
Oh yeah, with Humble Bundle and all that, and now you can Switch. You can carry around an indie box in your pocket, pretty much. Yeah, it's awesome. They got tons of stuff to cover, and we will more than likely cover a sequel if they decide to do one in the future.
I definitely recommend this if you like video games, obviously, but also even if you just like technology. I think it's interesting because they talk about a lot of technology, how graphics evolved, how they talk a little bit about the internet and all that. I think that's really interesting from that perspective as well.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I loved this. It was definitely much more enjoyable than I assumed it was going in. I definitely liked it, more at the end than I did the start. It definitely left you wanting more.
I think the last episode was probably my favorite.
It was good, yeah. I liked seeing how they, 3D games, FPS, different stuff like that. That's going to be a show, though.
Yeah, I reckon so.
Okay, well, you can find us on Twitter at One Way Podcast. You can find Ryan on Twitter at Ryan Divisions. You can find me on Twitter at Aswaylock. You can find all the links and everything else I'm about to say in the description or show notes. We'd appreciate it if you subscribe to us on your podcast app of choice. And if you could, it would be greatly
Apple
appreciated.
Podcast.
Yes, baby, that's what I was
You
going
can
to
subscribe
say.
on Apple Podcasts, and you can also review on Apple Podcasts. So you can give us those nice 5 stars on Apple Podcast.
That would be greatly appreciated. We thank you all for listening.
Share with your friends and family. Share on Twitter and Facebook and Zoom.
Okay, yeah. If you want to get your
Zoom call.
There you go. If you're in a Zoom call, just start playing one of the podcasts. And when they tell you to turn it off, just tell them, I won't turn it off until you subscribe to them. And then send them the link in the Zoom chat.
I swear, I thought you said, I won't turn it off. D's nuts.
Well, that's going to be it. All the links are going to be in the doobly-doo.